Liability. Where's the liability been concerns for the last 5 years that we've been doing this? It wasn't there for the last 5 years, but suddenly it is. I don't understand that. The other thing is, it seems, I'm not saying it's true, appearance that our chief is working in a hostile environment with the constant badgering, the dogs, the gate, her operations. She has a lot of good programs for this community, and it keeps getting bashed and bashed and bashed and bashed. That's a hostile environment for our police officers that this community adores. We want it to stop. What do we need to do as residents to make that stop? My understanding is that the operations of the police department is between the chief and our general manager, not our board. That means Director Winters, Director Shepard. It's not the board. It's Ken. So we want it to stop. Executive session, Wednesday evening. We'd like to know that why was Director Shepard allowed to be in executive session about a complaint on Chief Harmon by his son? That is unethical, and that is a conflict of interest.
And Tracy. I don't know, Tracy, this is the first time I've laid eyes on her, but one thing, when I think Mr. Patterson said he got the flyer in his mailbox, and he said, you know, was that hearsay? That was, I think the perception of transparency with the board happens because when he said, was that made up, you said, yes. But you don't say, oh, but however, Wednesday night we were in executive session and the chief was on the chopping block. She was made to defend herself.
That's right.
And when you leave that out, when someone asks a specific question, it's not, you're not giving him all the information. And he represents. Okay.
So anyway, to summarize what the residents are feeling is that Junior was called into that room. His father was sitting at the director's table participating in that session. Chief came in afterwards. Director Shepard was participating. We all saw it, 60 residents. You can't say it didn't exist. You can't say it didn't happen. I understand executive session, you can't tell us the details of it. I get that. I don't think anybody's asking for that. But the conflict of interest and unethical things that occurred because Shepard was present during his son's complaint against Chief Harmon gives us residents, that's a perfect example why residents don't trust you, why your credibility is shot, why we don't believe what you're saying. You've had residents now say to you, Wednesday evening, Stevens spoke to them about shutting down the PD and Chief's job. Winters has talked to residents about doing it. Shepard has talked to residents about doing it. And our general manager, Ken. So you have 4 key people. That's why we believe what we believe. I understand it's not being said by the board officially, but when you have 4 key people who are telling an abundance of residents this information, that flyer is not a rumor, because you have people standing up saying it was said. It's not a rumor. This concept of there's a boogeyman, no, there's not. It's real.
Okay, who
Okay,
Please answer, yes.
give us answers.
Gosh, I should have made a list as you were itemizing those things. I understand your concern. Part of this I don't know how people outside of an executive session can have knowledge of what takes place in an executive session without somebody in the executive
She
session
didn't say that.
leaking that information
That's not what she
out.
said.
That's not what I said, Barb.
No. Please. I don't know how anybody can, other than assume that they know what's going on in an executive session.
There's no assumption. She's saying that dude shouldn't have been in the session.
Right.
That's what we want
Answer
you
that
to
question.
do.
Why is he there?
Hold on. Okay, there is no problem with Mr. Shepherd being in that session. He's a director. However, if there was hold on, let me finish. If there was a vote taken, he would have been recused from voting. He is a board member. There was more discussed in that executive session than just what you guys are talking about.
He should have been in
And
there.
I have received an email from somebody telling me details of what took place in the executive session, and the only way any of those details could have gotten out there would have been for some board member or someone present to have violated our own code, our own bylaws, by repeating information in an executive session, okay?
But that's not what I said, so can you answer my questions?
Secondly, I've recently heard, there's a lady in the back who said a certain board member did in fact say this to a group of others. I'm sorry, I wasn't there, I didn't hear it. It disturbs me that people talk without having the full support of the board behind some of the things that they say. I can only say this one more time. We are absolutely, positively not going to do away with the police department.
Are they? What about the chief?
I don't have any comment on the chief I love Chief Harmon. Chief Harmon has done wonderful things in my family personally, okay?
Then yes or no?
Yes or no what?
Are you gonna get rid of her?
No,
Okay.
it's not even our job.
Oh, no.
You know who we can get rid of? The only person we can ever get rid of as a board is the person who is in charge of the day-to-day operations, and that's the general manager.
Yeah,
Everything else,
we can vote a position out.
everything else is his.
Can you dissolve her
bailiwick.
job?
Can you dissolve yourself?
I like, you know what? I wish we could.
Point of order.
You could quit.
And I'd
You were
like
told
to
the
take-
structure of her job could change to the point where she would leave.
Nobody's trying to do that. That's all.
Told that by a director.
Ma'am, please.
Nobody-
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Shane Godfrey, Line 827. In regards to the police department and transparency, what discussions has the board had regarding Chief Harmon?
None.
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 In regards to her position,
We did not, Chris. We did not have a concerning.
Why don't, let him speak.
Hey,
Speak, Chris.
Mr. Green, what do you have to
Thank
say?
you.
I'm directing my question to Chris Green.
correct about what was in there,
Yeah.
and what we said in there, but a complaint was brought to the board outside the bounds of the HR manual. I brought that up in the executive session. It was brought up incorrectly. It should have been, there's a process to go through. It should not have reached the board at that time. It should have gone through the process, and I think that that entire session was improper and should not have happened.
Why didn't you
I said that that should not have been brought before the board, that it was a GM's job, and no one listened to me.
Okay, no one listened to you because I never heard you say it.
Oh my
I'm sorry, I'm over here, I didn't hear anybody say anything. General manager, Barb, okay? The thing is if you have an issue that you think is absolutely unacceptable that's being done, you need to make sure that you say it loud and clear. All right? I'm talking loud and clear.
Thank you, Deb.
Okay? Don't sit there and go, well, I think this is a little bad. And then expect everybody in the damn room to hear you.
I said it to Chip.
Well, you guys cut him off all the time. How can he say anything?
What
I'm
we are
sorry.
doing, excuse me, folks, point of order. We are discussing something in executive session which we have no business even given any information at all. None,
These
okay?
people have a right to know.
They
when
don't
people
have
are
a
being
right
called
to know.
liars, when people are being, when their characters are being challenged, and when they're at a meeting and we say there's nothing wrong, and then we go into an executive session and we prove that every reason they're here is correct.
Now, my question has been answered, Judge, and I understand your point, executive session, but you need to understand that everybody's talking about the police department and how important they are to the community. Chief Harmon leads that police department, and if you're having any discussion, which the perception is that you are, then at some point, I would say in the next meeting, you need to address what you're talking about Chief Harmon, because these discussions are important to everybody here, and I don't think you grasp that totally.
And why is there a lack of respect for this man? Why do you guys shoot everything he says? I have nothing but respect for what you volunteers do. But to sit up there and watch how you speak to him, I don't like it. It's not your board. You are our board. I like every single one of you. But I want you all to treat each other fairly. I have 5 kids. I'm looking at 4 of them. I want you guys to respect each other. I don't want you cutting each other off. And if you don't like him, that's okay. He'll get over it. But at least, because if you guys can't get along, then we're a crazy harbor. I don't want to be a crazy harbor. I want to be the awesome harbor, but we're only as awesome as you guys make it.
Wouldn't that
Sorry to
explain
cut
why
you
that
off.
information got out? Wouldn't this behavior that I'm seeing right here explain why half of these members came out to the public and told them the information that you said never should have got out? Something's not right here, and that's why they're letting this information, because they know it's not right. You're not even getting along here, and it came out of nowhere over Chief Harmon, who I respect highly. She's been very helpful to us in the 22 years, well, she hasn't been here 22 years, but since she's come on board, okay? You guys have got something going on here, okay? Now you're fighting amongst each other, and then you wonder why other members of the board are out here telling the community information we're not supposed to know.
And why aren't we supposed to?
Why do you
know it?
question that? Why wouldn't they? Somebody wants the truth to come out. They want something to be right, okay? If you got a problem with her, then take it up with the community. Let us decide whether we want to keep her or get rid of her.
The truth is, you cannot have a board deciding to run rogue by giving tidbits of information to the community
Right.
without backing it up with facts. And a lot of this has been fear-mongering. A lot of this has been created a situation because of board relations and a lack of trust between board members. And frankly, we all need to go to a retreat and get more training and learn how to get along with one another and learn how to be respectful for one another. One person observing something today does not mean what you're observing has been the way it's been for the last 8 months.
Last few meetings.
But we do need to improve, and we can improve, and we absolutely need you as residents, as homeowners in here, to be a part of the process. I think what's happening here today is very good, because you're getting information, you're getting questions, you're bringing information to us. Maybe you're not hearing all the things that you would like to hear. I can guarantee you this, there's not one decision that we have made that we haven't upset at least half the people in here by making the decision. So, we're trying, we are making an effort to become more transparent. We're talking about how we can get information out to the community on a website that is easy for people to access, and we're making progress. I'm sorry it's not as fast as I would like to see it, but God in heaven, we are making progress.
In response, I'm going to drop my question at this point. I'll cut it off here. By the next board meeting, I would like to have an answer to that question about what discussions you've had regarding Chief Harmon and the police department. Just to make sure it's clear, whatever
I
you
think
feel,
it
but
would be up to
you have to
Chief
get that
Harmon.
out because that's important to the community that's here.
I think that's up to Chief Harmon.
Fair question. Yes, sir.
What?
Mike Binger,
What'd you say?
1954.
Wait 1 second. What was that, ma'am?
I think it's up to Chief Harmon if she wants to have any of that be made public. You know, I mean, there's a personnel issue
Okay.
here.
Go.
What?
Mike Beaker, 1954, point of order. Point of order. Thank you. First of all, you do have the authority to actually dissolve yourselves. It is in the bylaws. You can actually call a special meeting, and then it is actually up to the residents of the people, they're in person or represented by proxy, to call a member of the board or all of the members of the board. So you do actually have that power to dissolve this board.
We can only do 4 at a time.
Okay?
Winter, Shepherd,
Okay?
Stevens, Cole. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. 2713 Warren
Please,
Cross.
please sit down and let him finish.
Point of order. Thank you, sir. Okay. Going back to touch on a few other things since I do have the floor at this point. Trash collection once a week. Okay, now it's summertime. Gentleman said, it starts to smell. Now the animals get to it. Animals eat it, they get sick. Just like all of us, we get sick, we get irritable, and then we start having different things happen with the animals. Okay, I think there is a middle ground that can be found there to where they can be transported either down to the dog park and have a shelter provided there to keep the dogs cool until Stafford County can arrive. Because just a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, dog got out, a resident tried to hold the dog in the backyard until Stafford County could arrive. The dog got out of there, went down 2 doors, which was right across the street from my house, so I heard the whole thing, and it was horrible. At first, we didn't think it was a dog attack. I actually thought it was an assault on a woman. That's how horrible it sounded. Wife called 911, I'm going to get shoes on, we're trying to scurry the kids in the house, okay? That did not have to happen. Okay, that dog was injured, okay, unnecessarily. That's a risk of liability. Okay, that could incur civil litigation upon we, the Property Owners Association. Then our attorney has to spend his time doing that if that homeowner decided to do that, because we had already had a legal precedence of the police taking the dogs and trying to secure them until a homeowner or Stafford County can arrive. Okay? So there's a middle ground there that we need to work on. We could possibly be looking into incurring some type of problems where we have to get our HOA attorney involved. I don't think any of us want that. I don't think any of us want, a dozen dogs inside the police station either. But, you guys can lead and work together and find some middle ground there to where the residents are happy, okay? The police station stays clean. There's something that can be done there, okay? And it's not only going to be worse with summer getting hotter, and nobody wants to see anybody's dogs attacked. What if it had been a child? Okay, you can't have that. Also, some of these things that we can alleviate. We keep hearing, whether it's rumor or innuendo or one thing or another with, the chief's job or her position. Could it be eliminated like the stable manager's position? There's a remedy for that too. Why can we not have a contract with Chief Harmon for a set amount of time, along with guidance and disciplinary actions, a schedule of penalties? If she does make a mistake, well, that's a Class A, infraction that, she violated whatever bylaw or statute, and the penalty is, A, B, or C. To where that way, she doesn't have to worry about her job every day she comes in. Every day that those officers put on that uniform and come to work, they have a liability. Compared to actually getting one of the residents' dogs, finding a stray dog and then putting it in the car, taking it down to the dog park is a lot less risk than everything else that these guys face. So if you try and weigh that out, it's inconsequential that you're going to say, well, they can't be going after dogs because they might get bit. They know that. They face a lot worse fear or danger, and they know that, and they come to work every day willing to do that for us. And that's why we appreciate them. I would look into getting a contract and setting up some guidelines for it. And then that takes away all of this worry about whether or not Chief Harmon is going to stay or go. Personally, if I had to come into my job every day and worry about if I was going to be attacked, I'd already be looking for another job. Thank you.
Karen Souza, lot 1819, 25-year resident. Just a quick background thing, I worked 25 years as an associate director at an association and an executive director as well. So I worked with 2 board of directors during that time. Just an overview of 3 points I think are important. Building trust is what we're talking about here, or reinforcing the trust that we already have. I think the board can clearly hear that there is trust in Chief Harmon and the police department and what they've achieved. The police chief and the department in achieving that even went further than that by the fact that they're one of the few association police departments that achieved the Virginia designation as a police department. And that's a significant accomplishment. They accomplished that by training, certification, and being a part of the community and really building that trust. And so in saying that, I think it's correct what was pointed out by, I believe it was you, Director Cole, that I don't know any association that doesn't function at a high level. And I'm proud to say the 2 associations I've worked with functioned at a very high level, which is rare and hard to achieve. And I think we should all recognize that because of the personalities involved. So for that reason, I would say development of your skills and your cooperative relationship will require the board to have the roles and responsibilities of the board members reinforced with training. And that training has to not be just once and it's done for years. The board keeps changing, the dynamic keeps changing. And so for that reason, this should be budgeted as a budgeted item that you always will have certification. You are already members of what you should be, and I was glad to learn this, of the Association for Board of Directors for Property Owners. You're not using their services right now. That is something that all those associations are based here in DC. It's very affordable. I've worked in that responsibility facilitating those kind of things. I'd be happy to bring those skills forward to work with that association, work with you to set this up and meet the schedule. I've done that for 25 years, so I volunteered to do that. So I know you want it. It will really pull you together, and it's something you can then decide, do we need this semi-annually, quarterly, but it can be done within a very workable time frame for all of you, and that's what they're there for. So let's use their capabilities, and I'd be happy to work with you on that. The last point I think that's important too is this ongoing development of skills is something that then gets turned over from board to board to board. There's always that gap when you get new people elected, and where was the history and where is it now? And so many residents changing. So for that reason, working with an association that you can trust, that's established in that way, please move forward with that and do that as quickly as possible. And again, I'm happy to help you with that. Thanks, Mary.
Linda Sims, lot 2055, 36-year resident. I would just like affirmation from each board member and the GM that each and every personnel action will be handled in accordance with the employee handbook.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. That's all I ask.
I have actually a couple of questions. My first question, well, my first statement to you is I think it's obvious that the community does not trust what's going on in this community right now. My question to you is, first of all, is there a way, I've been told that we have a lawyer on retainer, is there a way that that lawyer could come to a meeting that you have maybe on a quarterly basis or every 6 months to have him here to answer our questions and know that we are getting exactly what is the truth?
Yes.
My second question to you is, do you look at being a compromise when you make a decision like the dogs? I have not heard from any board member that there has been any discussion, besides Chris Green, that there has been any discussion that there could have been a compromise before you made a statement and before you made a vote on something. You obviously did not put it out to the community because there was a huge uproar after you made this vote. And in my opinion, I don't see a compromise. Why can you not give us that?
Oh,
I'm done.
I think we can come up with a compromise. I've heard some good ideas here today. We just have to work out the details. I think we can work it out.
I know that there are several people in the community that have said, even if the dogs get picked up, bring them to my house. At least get them out of the street. The police department have dog poles. And I know this because it's been worked on foxes and rabid animals.
We have actually
Okay.
talked about that.
We have dog poles. There's no reason why we can't pitch in and pay for a $60 cage to put in the back seat of a police cruiser. They can be folded down, stuck in the trunk in a folded piece, and then brought up to be put in the back with a dog in the back. So we don't have to worry about the police getting mauled on the way to someplace. There's no reason why we can't compromise on it.
We can go. Yes, ma'am.
And my other question about the lawyer,
We have, our lawyer, our retainers, he comes twice a month. He comes twice a year. Now, whether he's going to, I mean, he'll certainly address legal issues, whether he's going to come and answer, his
That's
board of
what I'm
directors gonna
asking,
compromise about the
is-
dogs. I don't think he can answer that question.
no. But what I'm asking is, we don't necessarily believe everything that's said. So why can't we ask the lawyer legal questions twice a year at a board meeting?
That's fine. Well, next time he comes, we'll announce it, and you want to come, that's fine. Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful, thank you.
I'm Polly McKinnon. I think my lot is 491. I had to ask Val what hers is because I live nearby. I just bought in December and moved in January, still getting settled. I don't know anybody here that I know of. And at the risk of being very unpopular before I even get to know anyone, I just want to say, I hate meetings to begin with. I've always hated meetings, and I've been to my share of them through the years. And I hate this meeting. I appreciate that you volunteer, and you may feel like you're under attack, but I'd like to say that there's something about the board that comes across as dismissive and even authoritarian. And again, I know you're volunteering your time. And I also want to say, I'm feeling like, what mistake did I make by buying in here? I mean, really, that's why I say it, at the risk of being very unpopular. I don't know anybody. I like my house. I like the house. I have some nice neighbors. But, I mean, this is a mess, it sounds like. And I think as far as communication and transparency, you talked about it. I got to poke my head in for a little while at the meeting, the board meeting. And you brought up that communication was an issue. Well, it sure seems to be, because when I started hearing the rumors about the police department, I looked at the official, I think it's the official Aquia Harbor site. Maybe it's not, because other people were saying, look at Facebook. Well, I couldn't find very much. And why aren't you using the official, if it is the official Aquia Harbor site, doesn't that make sense? And also put something out in writing. And after I've said all these things that probably come across as negative, where's the lady who volunteered, who's been involved?
She left.
Well, I worked as a social worker, and I don't have it all together myself, but I know how to facilitate groups and meetings. If she would like it, I could help volunteer with, personalities are involved, I understand that. But Aquia Harbor just seemed like this nice place, and you keep saying that the things about the police department weren't said, but people aren't seeming to believe it, so I don't know what to think. And what else was I gonna say? Probably the other thing I wanted to say, and maybe I was stupid, I was overwhelmed with the whole process of buying and moving, but I didn't know you had a choice to pay other than quarterly. I got, I paid the initiation fee, and, which is what, a year and a month in advance? I don't even know anymore. But the first time I got that statement for the quarterly fees, I thought, why are they charging me 50 or whatever? Well, if I had known, I'll pay the whole thing. Oh, I have one other comment, and I'm sure you've thought of so many things that we don't know. You know, you have a lot of responsibility, and again, I don't mean to bash you. Have you considered, and would it be allowed, or you've probably considered this, towing cars that don't have a sticker? Maybe that's not allowed. I hate towing companies, but where I lived before was a condo, and that's what they did if someone didn't have a current sticker. So you've probably already thought about that, and I guess that's it. Thank you so much.
Phyllis Peloso, lot 2192. A couple of comments. The thing about the trash collection, I understand that one of the reasons that they did it was so that we didn't incur additional costs because the trash company was raising the fees on us. Get that. I would suggest to the board that as a possible compromise, those huge trash containers that were down at the parks a couple of months ago, that maybe they do the same thing again in the fall, so that when people have large items that they can't take to the dump, that instead of it ending up at one of our parks like a refrigerator did, that there would be these huge dumpsters, and it would be announced so that residents know when they clean out their garages or whatever that these would be available. Second thing, I was the only resident that went to the meeting.
I thought we were addressing the board, not the audience.
Excuse me.
Other people have been told that too today.
Yes. Point of order.
Yep. Okay. I was the only resident that went to the training session that the board had back in January, February of this year. It was open to the entire harbor residents to come and listen. It was a training session given by the attorney to the board, and the board had the opportunity to ask any number of questions that they wanted to. I was also the only resident at the meeting that was announced and open to any resident that wanted to attend. Between the board, 3 board members who are in attendance, VDOT, and the county this week in regards to the back gate. When people sit in here and say the board is not transparent and they don't bother to come to meetings, and I realize people, the one Monday was in the middle of a work day, but there are a lot of you sitting in here that could have come but chose not to come and to get the facts directly from. Excuse me, I have the floor.
But you're not addressing the board.
I am addressing the board.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're just making another article. You know what? Transparency is also posting stuff.
Please. Thank you.
You want to read your article?
When people sit in here and say the board is not transparent, I would encourage them to come to those meetings that are available for residents to attend so they get it straight from the horse's mouth. I do encourage the board to do better at communication, to do better at posting things on the website, on the Quiet Harbors official Facebook page. And I know you are getting better because I have seen some articles on there. I know there's stuff that gets posted to signboard by the gate. But I encourage you to continue doing it and to improve, because situations like this should not be occurring if people would bother to come to meetings and get the facts straight for themselves.
Mr. Collins, I'm going to direct this at some comments you made earlier, and I'm truly appealing to y'all now. 3 of you were on the board with me. You know what a hard ass I was about 4 or more board members getting together. One of you knows I even literally threw you out of a meeting, okay? Our bylaws state when 4 more board members get together to discuss the business of the harbor, that's a board meeting. Now, when y'all start trying to define away the issue by saying seminar, training, the bylaws doesn't do that. It's rather explicit. And if you get some fuzzy advice from a lawyer, you know, saying, well, okay, yes, this, it's more what he's saying, I don't think anybody will sue you over it. That still don't make it right. You're running a risk. But the people who show up in these meetings, it's evident you got an integrity issue, okay? I am appealing to you, anytime 4 of y'all get together to discuss the business as harbor, announce it. What's so hard about that?
We did.
At last meeting, you made the statement, 5 of you met with an attorney.
Jim, we
Wait a
went to a
minute,
seminar
I'm
that we
talking.
paid for.
You can answer.
With 250 other people.
Point of order.
Go ahead, Jim.
Was it announced?
No, it was not.
Okay, point made. Okay, my point was bylaws doesn't give you any variation, it just makes a statement. So appearances, reality around this place, you ought to know that. And try to get your integrity going again by making dang sure that anything you're doing is posted, is close to the bylaws. I mean, you're gonna make mistakes. God, nobody knows those things inside and out, I accept that. But stop trying to define away the issue, okay? Look at your bylaws. If it says announce it, announce. Post it. Thank you.
Mr. Hodges,
Yes,
just
ma'am.
to clarify,
Uh-huh.
we've had this ongoing debate about what is and what isn't a board meeting. We have certainly had professional advice from our attorney regarding the 5 board members who went to a legal seminar with a couple of hundred other people from other community associations. We all received the same information. I even made it a